Good morning, everybody. How are we all doing? Sammy, United People's TV should be an exciting show, I think, today. Ruben Amorim has taken charge of Manchester United for the first time at Carrington. Last week was all about the pleasantries, meeting the staff, meeting some of the players, meeting the board. Now he's on the training pitch at Carrington. And the videos have come out yesterday, the photos have come out yesterday. So what today's show is mainly going to be about is me running through what we saw, maybe what we can discuss. I'll cover it, as always, in a lunchtime video, much more condensed and a little bit more information inside there. Today, as always, is about the live community chat. I'll run through all of that. Reports from the Telegraph, Manchester Evening News as well, that Ruben Amorim's going to have a modest budget when it comes to the January transfer window, which should come as no surprise to anybody. But we'll speak about that a little bit later in the show. But the main part of today is all going to be around the training footage, photos, and what we can take from that. All right, I'll see who's here from the mod and the member gang. As always, get involved in the comments. It's interactive, as long as you send in good chat. Good morning to Ant, Carl, and Daisy. Good morning to all three of you. Alex, you're there as well. Josh, you're there too, my friend. And Takeoff, good morning to you. Who else is here? Right, we've got Miles, we've got Breen, Jiu-Jitsu Prince. It's a pretty cool name. John Hammond, we've got Dira, we've got Garth, C-Bomb, and we've got Shuby. Charles, good morning to you. Dan McGann, Matt Frost on Facebook. John Lane, Facebook's working today. Isn't that nice? Wasn't working yesterday. No idea why. It is very temperamental. And there's nothing I'm doing wrong this time. Technical issues sometimes have been my fault. But not today. Now, speaking of today, I'm Potato. I can see you down there gifting a membership. Good morning to you, dude. Something I'm excited about and has been, let me see how long it's been, right? March, April, May, June, 10 months in the making. But this morning, a new episode of the podcast dropped. Brand new podcast. Well, I say new episode. It's a trailer. It's a 54-second. It's a 54-second trailer, right? But the podcast, the United People's podcast, I love doing it, but it was quite difficult to do with all the other content demands that we have on the channel. Now it's going to be relaunched as a brand new United Daily podcast. It's going to be going out at 9 a.m. UK time every single day. And it's going to be a 10-15 minute podcast, which is going to be a really condensed version of this live show that we do every single morning. Because people enjoy getting involved in the live show here, but not everybody has the ability to tune in for an hour. So that there is going to be every single... You're asking if there's a link on the Discord. Just type in United People's Podcast on Spotify, on Apple, wherever you listen to it, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Go and subscribe. Or what is it? Do you subscribe? Do you follow? I think you follow podcasts, right? That's going to be launching next Monday, the very first one. It's going to be Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. in your podcast feeds every single weekday, all right? So please do support it if you can. We're going to be reading out reviews every single day. So if you leave a 5-star review on Apple, your comment might be involved in the podcast. I'm looking forward to it, man. Yeah, Carl, the research for that 54-second podcast did take a long time. But yeah, this is going to be the reintroduction of the podcast, which I've been wanting to do for a long time. And hopefully we'll then bring back the original podcast, maybe once a week. This is just the beginning. So big up to all of you for supporting. But look, we've got the main man at Carrington.
Morning.
Morning.
You okay?
Morning.
Morning. You okay? Morning, Fudge. Nice to meet you.
Morning.
Morning. Morning.
Casemiro.
Morning. You okay?
Morning, the morning.
One more time.
You okay?
Morning, the morning. Morning, the morning.
Oh, man, you got to love Casemiro. What an absolute joker. But Ruben Amorim was at Carrington yesterday, and we've been waiting for it. And of course, there's an excitement and there's a buzz around the new manager, just like there was an excitement and a buzz around Erik ten Hag and any other new manager that came before him. I think, what is it that, I'll ask you in the comments now, what is it that you're most excited about seeing under Ruben Amorim? Is it the new formation? Is it you just want to see Ruben Amorim in charge and see what he can do in comparison to Erik ten Hag? Is there anything in particular that you're looking forward to seeing hopefully against Ipswich. And I'll read some of your comments out. Music is the best, saying very much enjoyed Amorim making the players sprint back to their own half after losing the ball as a drill. I'm going to be speaking about that in a little bit more detail. It's one of the things I enjoyed the most as well. Casemiro is a joker, man. He is a joker. Whole Food Review, which is an absolute top tier YouTube name. You're saying work ethic. Lone Wolf, you're saying tactics. Janko, you're saying Anthony right wing. Well, would be right wing back. Rashford is a centre forward, someone said down there. Consistent wins. Hoyland to get a pass. His identity and intensity. Salford Red, you're saying enthusiasm. No more free rides, says Josh. Style of play, says Use. A stacked midfield. And you're saying seen him get the best out of underperforming players. There's a lot of... Look, there will always be expectation at Manchester United. You can't hide from it. But the reality is, we're all aware of what we were as a team before Amorim came in, and how much change he's actually got to do, because it is a different shape, a different system, and a different underlying set of principles. But I enjoyed watching that video. It's cool to get that sort of access, and I'm looking forward to sort of analysing it in today's lunchtime video. Let's run through a few of the aspects here. Class. I can't wait to see Ruben Amorim using Kobbie Mainoo in the way that Kobbie Mainoo should be used. And I think that's probably one of the criticisms I think of Erik ten Hag, which was the most fair. I think a lot of the times he was just using players in ways where you didn't get the maximum strengths out of those players. And like I said, I don't know whether this stat's still true, but certainly earlier this season, up until a certain week, a game week, like Kobbie Mainoo had made the most interceptions out of any player in the Premier League. And as good as that was, and as impressive as that was, it's not what I want to see from Kobbie Mainoo, mainly. He's way too good with the ball at his feet to be pointing to his qualities out of possession as like the main thing he's doing. And inside this system, there is going to be so much... I imagine anyway. We'll see against Ipswich. But there should be a lot less space and ground to cover inside those central midfield positions. You won't be seeing Kobbie Mainoo make 30, 40-yard sprints to cover someone at fullback, because there's going to be 3 centre-backs and 2 wing-backs. Kobbie will be used in the right way. More like how he was used at the start in his... was it Erik ten Hag's second season? Everton away. That was his first game, wasn't it? I think that was Erik ten Hag's second season. Less ground coverage, more quality. That's what I want to see from Kobbie Mainoo, and that's what I think he's capable of. Anthony not saying, let's not forget Lenny is back. I'll be speaking about that in a bit. Shabugan, great name. You're saying, I'm happy to see an acolyte of Mourinho rather than an acolyte of Pep. So tired of dull recycle possession, defend well and push the pace. I mean, I kind of understand what you mean there, but Guardiola's a ridiculously good coach. Let's not beat around the bush. And Guardiola switched. He was previously tiki-taka, all about possession and then he switched to a far more powerful, more direct City over the last few years. So Pep has adapted as well. I don't really care though. I know it's the easiest way to understand kind of who a manager is, who a head coach is, and who a player is by saying, well, he's like X. He's like the Mainoo, the Salford Sadov. Is it Salford Sadov? I think it was. No, Stockport Sadov. But he's just the first Kobbie Mainoo. In the same way that I would say Ruben Amorim, like I said in my video, is one of one. He is the first Ruben Amorim. He may have similarities, if you want to call it that. But the way he coaches and everything that he does will be unique to him. A couple of super chats. Let me read these out. And you're saying that Amorim's giving you Ole vibes, personality-wise. It must be really... I don't know. I can't speak for him. But it must be easier to relate, I suppose, and sort of build a relationship with someone like Ruben Amorim, who's only 39, who was playing at Old Trafford, 10 years ago, on the pitch. I don't know. You can see positives and negatives to every single style of management. Fergie was largely a hands-off manager, stepped away from the training pitch and left it to the likes of Rennie Meulenstein and everything, but it didn't make him any less of a manager. It was just a different style of management, a different style of coaching. Amorim himself is a tracksuit coach, hands-on, in the middle of the pitch, whistling mouth, driving, getting involved. Alex, you're saying not reading into who played where too much, but good to see Shaw and Yoro left centre-back and right centre-back. I'll be speaking about the individuals and the players and the positions in a little bit. But yeah, here's another little video. I'll play this here. I don't want the sound. Go away. I don't know. I don't know if I'm looking into this too much, but from what I saw yesterday, I can't really remember too many videos of Ten Hag's training sessions when we actually played with like a full width pitch. It felt like every time I watched a Ten Hag training session, it was kind of smaller drills, whether it was the rondos, whether it was a passing drill. And look, of course, the players would have played in full width pitches, but that's probably the main focus I think you should take from that training session yesterday, is the fact that so much of the effort went straight into the shape, which shouldn't be any surprise to anybody, right? Let me see what you're saying down here in the comments. I'll read some out. Telena saying, Sam, not to get carried away, but I think we finally got the one with Amorim. Look, well, you are getting carried away in that comment. Amorim seems to have the personality that makes him approachable for players. Cool, that's one tick. He seems to have the charisma and confidence in himself. Cool, that's another tick. He's clearly got a drive and a focus on an actual identity. And I've said that since day one. So because Amorim has said that, he can be held accountable to it. And we know that it's going to be like the driving principle of him. It's very unlikely that Amorim's going to be going into, like, take, for example, the Villa game under Erik ten Hag towards the end. That was where, I can't remember what games came before the Villa game, but it was a bad week. And what Erik ten Hag did was shored United up. We sat back in that deeper block and we tried to hit on the counter-attack, and it was 0-0. Good defensive performance, but really not much going forward. It was far removed from any sort of identity. It was a needs-must performance for that particular game. Now, if Amorim ever reached that point where the pressure is really on his job, then maybe there would be tweaks and changes. But Amorim's going to stick to this system. And I found it really, really confusing. I'll be totally honest, that there was any sort of suggestion that Amorim wasn't going to use a 3-4-3 at Manchester United. I don't know whether it was just lazy journalism or people just trying to find a narrative that didn't exist, but people were really questioning, will Amorim use a 3-4-3 system at United? Not quite sure. Yeah. Of course he was. And we've got some photos here of the shape. Now, as Alex said earlier, don't look into who was playing where too much, because there were only 10 senior players available yesterday. Martinez wasn't involved in training, so he's obviously undergoing fitness tests. Lindelof wasn't involved either. But Rashford was there. Yoro was there. Evans was there. Shaw was there. Malacia, Mainu, Mount, Anthony, Casemiro, that's 9. Evans, did I say Evans? Might have forgotten Evans. Either way, there's 9 of them. So don't look into the positions too much, but what you can look into is the system. That's Casemiro over there. That's Ahmad. That's Rashford, who I think was playing centre forward. Anthony was playing down at right wing back. You had Yoro playing as right centre back. You had Evans playing as the central centre back, which is exactly where I imagine he will play. Evans won't be able to play on the left centre back position, which is where Luke Shaw played. It was Malacia. Oh, Ahmad, there you go. That's the 10th. Thank you very much. Ahmad was the 10th. I remember 9. It's not bad. So Luke Shaw was playing as the left-sided centre-back. And you'll remember when Martinez was injured that Luke Shaw ended up being really, really impressive there. Luke Shaw's now fit again. Isn't that nice? Someone sent a super chat. Diogo, thank you very much, dude, for the super chat. What are you saying? He's saying Amorim will start working with what he has and change what needs to be changed. I liked him since he was a Benfica player. You and I need to have patience to change things. But for the team, next season is going to be fire. Look, man, I think Amorim's already said this. And I'll go back to, because that's a good super chat and a good point. Amorim's already said look, I'm not going to overload the players straight away. We're not going to be focusing too much on how to press or how to play out. The initial beginnings are going to be about, all right, lads, we're switching to a new system. We're playing with 3 at the back. That's Yoro as the right centre-back, passing to Evans as the central centre-back. High line. I'm guessing that was kind of part of the defensive drills as well. Now, this is something that was mentioned earlier and something that I definitely enjoyed. I'll pull a clip of it up in the lunchtime video. But basically, United were going forward, and I think Malacia sent a ball across, and as soon as the ball didn't reach a teammate, Amorim blew the whistle, and every player sprinted back into their own half, and I think they had, what are they called? You know, like the metal players are using a wall. What's the name of that? I don't know. Anyway, they had those set in certain positions, and everybody was just sprinting back into their positions as soon as possession was lost. So that's a drill that's come straight away, which I think is good. To a certain degree, if we're talking about a problem that existed under Eric Ten Hag, it was how much we were doing that. It was how much United were sprinting to cover spaces. But that's because we weren't doing it as a team. It was 1 or 2 individuals doing it. And there was too much space between the back line and the front line. Dummies, mannequins, there you go. I don't know why, but for some reason. Emmanuel's getting annoyed. Oh, my goodness, please stop leaking our trainings. Bielsa got fined for this. Leaking? It's bloody United to put it out. Go and have a go at the club. I don't know why I just said the things. You know, sometimes it's just a word that doesn't come in your head. Right. Training dummies. Good. Right. Let me see what you're saying down here. Ravi, you're saying, I like what Amorim said about identity. Well, we all have. Right. Yared's saying, will Anthony be successful as a right wing back? I suppose Anthony's got another opportunity. He does. Now, you know my personal take on Anthony. I don't think so. But Amorim, in that right wing-back position, likes to use a converted winger who's left-footed, which means you could see Ahmad there. You could see Anthony there. You could, in theory, see Malacia there. But he likes that left-footed right wing-back who opens up different passing lanes. Bruno wasn't in training yesterday, so I remember Bruno, I think, flew back on Saturday. So he's going to be getting involved, but he had a day off. Right? I thought he'd be involved in the first day, but he's not. Somebody who was involved, and I'm excited about it. We're all excited about this. We've got a brand new manager in Ruben Amorim, and I think if we were to go back to the summer and we were to choose which player we were most excited about in terms of the signings, I think we'd probably say Lenny Yoro. Signed in a swoop ahead of Real Madrid. Did we pay for it? Yeah, we paid a premium for it. But that's because United consider Lenny Yoro a premium talent. And we've got the first glimpse. We know exactly that this is absolutely no surprise whatsoever, by the way. Lenny Yoro is going to play as the right-sided centre-back. That was always his position inside this system. But he's fit enough to get involved in the full training. He's fit enough to be involved in the sprints back, out of possession. Lenny Yoro is working his way towards fitness. I think it would. Of course, it's a risk. I mean, we don't know how fit Lenny Yoro is. But if you think about it, right? If Amorim's going to... Welcome to United, by the way, Amorim. There are injury problems. If Amorim's going to have 3 centre-backs fit, I mean, who are they going to be? You saw Johnny Evans was the central centre-back in that team that played yesterday. You had Luke Shaw playing as a left-sided centre-back. How fit is Luke Shaw? I don't know. You had Malacia playing as a left wing-back. You had Yoro playing as the right centre-back. What about Maguire? We don't know whether he's fit. We don't know whether Martinez is going to be fit or not. I think De Ligt's going to be fit, but he's been away on international duty and he still is. So De Ligt will probably... I don't know. I've got no idea who's going to play as the 3 centre-backs. But Lenny Yoro is working his way back towards fitness. And so is Luke Shaw. What's your honest expectation of Luke Shaw over the next, let's say for the rest of the year? I'll leave that to you in the comments and I'll come back to it. Right. Apparently I missed a super chat. Let me go back up here. I don't miss any. I always go back to see the super chats. Sai, it's your birthday. Happy birthday, dude. Mark saying all the Portuguese managers have worked well in the Premier League. I don't know what other Portuguese managers there are. Roberto Martinez? Is he Portuguese? I think he's Portuguese. Can't remember if I just made that one up. Captain is saying top sessions, Casemiro and Rashford, top channel. Big up to you, dude. Thanks for that. Right, let me see what you're saying about Luke Shaw. Chris, you're saying injured again by Christmas. Janko, you're saying no expectation. Unreliable. Good patch, says Jonathan. Then injured again. Plays at least half the game, says Anthony. Luke Shaw's gone in January. Luke Shaw won't be sold in January. No way. There's no way that Luke Shaw gets sold this summer. It's whether or not. It's whether or not he stays past this summer. That's the big question. On field, you're saying Luke will definitely deliver. And this is, look, here is the thing about Luke Shaw, which you all know, I know, everyone knows. When Luke Shaw is fit, he's genuinely one of the best left backs in the world. Was it a couple of seasons ago? And I think it was his absolute best form. But it's just been plagued by constant injury problems. If Luke Shaw stays fit for the rest of the season, he'll be asked. I mean, I don't actually know, if I'm being completely honest, because then you come into different conversations. Look, you all know how much I love Lisandro Martinez as a player. I think when he came, the personality that he had, the aggression that he had, were just things that we didn't have, and he delivered. And against adversity as well, people writing him off straight away. So it made me sort of support him even more. I have concerns about Lisandro Martinez's athletic ability out of possession in a back three system that plays high up the pitch, and him covering those spaces and those channels. Luke Shaw will be able to do that better, naturally, than Martinez. So it's going to be interesting to see if everyone is fit, who our starting 11 even is. Could it be Luke Shaw as a left-sided centre-back? It could be. It could also be Lisandro Martinez, but it could be Luke Shaw as a left wing-back. Could be Malacia. We don't quite know. We're going to be learning this, right? Let me see what you're saying in the comment. Eric saying his broken leg cannot sustain more than a few back-to-back games. I don't know what the list of injuries are with Luke Shaw, but I think hamstring was one of the most recent ones, wasn't it? I think it was. I can't remember. But Luke Shaw was back in full training yesterday, and so was Mason Mount. And Mason Mount is again, put it in the comments. What's all your expectations on Mason Mount and what he's going? Just talking between now and January. Now, the end of this year, what do you think we can expect from Mason Mount? Mount, it feels like he's just been really, really unlucky with injuries because he's not had a major problem like Luke Shaw. And he wasn't really ever known as injury prone prior to coming to United. Mason Mount inside that system, and he played exactly where we thought he would. As one of the two attacking midfielders behind, it was Mason Mount and Ahmad behind Rashford, who was playing as a centre forward. He will really suit that system. Certainly in the aggressive press, in the out of possession, that's kind of always where Mason Mount's main attributes have been, I suppose. He's also very good with the ball at his feet, but we've rarely, rarely seen any of it because of injuries. I'm going to go and see what you're saying in the comment. John, you're saying I don't really expect anything from Mount. There's nothing special about him. I think that's being unfair. Anna, you're saying Mount will stay fit. Mainu still needs to find a path forward, says Danny. Well, he's going to play as part of the central two, and you'll get Ugarte, who will be the deeper sweeper, and you'll get Mainu with a little bit more freedom to go forward and to carry the ball forward. That's where Mainu's going to play. Luke saying, I'm tired of the narrative when it comes to Shaw. He's been here for 10 years and people still come up with excuses. I don't think anybody's coming up with excuses for Luke Shaw, are they? Man United have got to move on. I'll be honest, and I don't mean this in a harsh way. It doesn't matter whether Luke Shaw gets injured in 2 weeks or Luke Shaw puts in some of the best 6 months that we've seen as a United player. It wouldn't change my opinion as to whether we need to sign a top quality left back in the summer. We have to, regardless of what happens between now and the end of the season with Luke Shaw, whether it's good or bad. Mason Mount, mate, jury's out, man. Jury's out. And yeah, I agree on that. Like, Mason Mount hasn't done enough with the ball at his feet. Was that a system issue? You might say it was partly a system issue, but Mason Mount just hasn't done enough, and certainly hasn't done enough, unfortunately for him, because he's a £60 million player. When you sign £60 million players, you need them to change the quality of your starting 11. That's what a £60 million player should do. And that was just a misappropriation of... I understood. I go back, I remember what I said about Mason Mount. I understood why Ten Hag did it. The switch to the 1 number 6 system, the 2 number 8s. Ten Hag had it in his mind, and I knew what he was trying to do, but it just didn't work. It was just a mistake. Mason Mount, the only thing stopping Mason Mount is his fitness. And at that point, we'll be able to judge whether he's got the quality or not. But we know he's got some qualities from what we saw at Chelsea. Right now, he's not impacted United at all in a positive sense. He's not really had a United career. And it's just, is he really injury prone, or is he just a little bit unlucky? Well, let's see under Amorim. If he plays under Amorim, he has 2 to 3 games, he plays really well and then gets another injury, then you're going to be going, well, the exact same thing is happening under Ruben Amorim with Mason Mount. Yeah, John, I agree with that as well. Saying, I bet Mount doesn't even feel like a real United player yet. He's been here for how long now? We signed him last season. So he's been at United for a season and a third. Is that about a third of the way through a season? Feels like about a third of the way. And you still don't really have anything to talk about with Mason Mount. It's mad, isn't it? Really is mad. And somebody else who has been working towards his fitness for a long-ass time is Malacia. There was that really good interview that came out with The Athletic where he just sort of explained why he decided to stay sort of quiet behind the scenes. He'd rather just work on his own training. It was like eat, training, sleep, eat, training, sleep, eat, sleep, rave, repeat. Big up, Fatboy Slim. Let's go and see him again. Anybody seen Fatboy Slim? Saw him a couple of years ago, and it lived up to expectations. He was so good. But Malacia played as the left wing-back yesterday. Luke Shaw playing as a left-sided centre-back. And something I noticed is the patterns that, and I'll explain this a little bit more in my lunchtime video, which is, of course, more condensed. But there was definite patterns where United were looking for the balls over the top to our wing-backs from the centre-backs. So probably drawing the press, drawing the team forward, and leaving the width and the opportunity for that ball over the top to the wing-back. But it looks like we're actually going to have some form of left-sided players who are going to be fit. Luke Shaw involved in full training. Malacia has been involved in full training for what feels like a good few weeks now. Okay, I'll ask a question one more time, because these are all the players who have been out for God knows how long. What are your expectations on Malacia between now and the end of the year? So that's Yoro, who's been out all season so far. Luke Shaw, who's not... Has he kicked the ball yet this season? I don't think he has. Who's been out completely. Malacia, that's 3 players who literally haven't played for us this season. And Mason Mount, he's had a couple of games, but he's basically been out for the whole season as well. That's 4 players coming back, potentially. Everyone's fit for the new manager. What else are you saying down here in the comments then? Let's have a look. Left-footed players in the United side, Stephanie, I know. It feels foreign right now. Sumya with a really random comment. Ajax 2018-19 versus Sporting 23-24. Who do you reckon wins? People love these sorts of debates, which are just hypothetically mad. I've no idea. There you go. That's my answer. Malacia stays fit all season, says Dera. Ross, you're saying he gets back to full fitness and plays a squad role. Linto saying Malacia lacks quality. The weaknesses in Malacia's game were he was overzealous. He got involved and he was kind of so aggressive in his movements that he'd often leave a lot of space in behind. But he was an athlete to the point where he could cover all of that. And his recovery pace was brilliant. His burst over the first 10 yards would make up for a lot of the errors that he made, which kind of makes you a little bit of a perfect left wing-back because you've already got the left-sided centre-back to cover that space in behind, and it gives you a little bit more freedom going forward. So I think in that sense, I think the wing-back role would really, really suit Malacia if he can stay fit. A contributing squad player says, Giles, Richie, you think he'll stay fit? Get a few minutes here and there, and it's likely a hamstring. Well, of course, the Malacia injury was his knee, his left knee. That's where I think it was meniscus damage on his left knee with double surgery and setbacks. I hope for his sake he can refine the form that we saw in the first season, because Malacia in his first season was a pretty good alternative. I think that was when Luke Shaw had a great season as well. You had Shaw having probably his best season in a United shirt, and then you had Malacia as backup. And it worked. Left-hand side was really nice. And you had Martinez. Man, that whole left-hand side was quality. If he stays fit, I agree with a lot of the comments down there. I think he'll be a pretty good squad player for United. But that's all it depends on, staying fit. Now, lots of people seem to get angry that Marcus Rashford, I say lots of people, aka the Daily Mail, got angry that Marcus Rashford, how dare he? How dare you go away to New York on your holiday when there's a couple of days off from work? That is disgusting. You stay there and you do nothing but train, even on your days off. Anyway, Rashford was at Carrington yesterday. He got involved, fully fit, for the first training session under Ruben Amorim. And he played at centre forward. Type it in the comments, right? Or maybe I'll do this. I'll do this as a poll, this one, because I think this will be an interesting one. Start a poll. Where do you think Rashford will play more under Amorim? Will play more under Amorim. Do you think he'll get played more as a left winger? Well, it's not really a left winger. It's called sort of like left attacking midfielder, or as a centre forward. They're the two options, I think. Where do you think Rashford will play more? So, get it in the poll down there. I've got no idea, really. I think probably centre forward. But I don't know. So it's either on the left or the centre forward. As I said, the two attacking midfield positions yesterday were occupied by Mason Mount and Ahmad. And of course, you've got Bruno to add into those. I'll be honest, Kobbie Mainoo could play one of those positions really well as well, leaving you Casemiro and Ugarte as the two central midfielders. Who else could play in those positions? Garnacho. I mean, Anthony looks like he's going to be maybe a right wing back instead of one of those. Well, let's find out. Centre forward is where he belongs, says Kenny. Well, I wouldn't say that. Rashford's best position so far in his Manchester United career has been left wing, without a shadow of a doubt. But that position doesn't exist in the Amorim system. So Rashford's going to have to play differently, whether that is as a left-sided attacking midfielder or whether that is as a centre forward. I don't know. Centre forward for me feels a little bit more likely, but I can see down there 600 votes in the first minute. Big up to all of you. Make sure you drop a like on the video. I bet you loads of you haven't. Anyway, 49% are saying left attacking midfielder and 51% are saying centre forward. So split right down the middle. Fair play. I don't really know. I think I'd probably guess centre forward. And it'll be him. And of course, Xerxes can play as one of those attacking midfielders as well. I think a lot of you, understandably, are concerned about Xerxes. So am I as well. He's definitely more cumbersome than I thought he would be. But he has played inside this system before. Don't play Xerxes as the lone centre forward. In my opinion, Xerxes is not an option there. But playing him as one of the left-sided attacking midfielder behind a centre forward, that's where he thrived in Bologna in the back three system. Play him as that connector. He's still got the attacking mindset, can drive the ball forward, but don't make him the centre forward in the box. I'll be interested to see what happens against Ipswich on Sunday. Rasmus Højlund, he should be fit. He's away with Denmark right now. So it'll be Højlund probably or Rashford up front. And maybe it'll be Rashford because, well, simply he's had a couple more training sessions with Amorim in that role. I don't know. Joni's saying Xerxes can play a natural number 10. Someone's saying a front three of Xerxes, Højlund and Bruno. There are so many different options that system brings to you. Because typically United have had the width from the wingers. So that was always Rashford or Garnacho pretty much out wide. And then you play your central players. And that's kind of how it was. Now it's different because you've got two central attacking midfielders that play narrow. The width comes from the wing backs. And therefore, Ahmad slots in there. Garnacho's going to have to change his game as well. I'm curious as to see what happens with Garnacho. I know people have been talking about the idea that Garnacho could get used as a left wing back. And that's not outside the realms of possibility. It just feels a bit unlikely to me, if I'm being totally honest. Might be wrong. We'll find out. I think there's more chance of Anthony playing as a right wing back than there is of Garnacho playing as a left wing back. I think Garnacho's position is going to be that left-sided attacking midfielder. And he typically loves having the width, the full width. If he's going to play more central and narrow, he's going to have to develop his game. And I suppose that's what coaches do, right? They develop players. Garlic Bread Man and our Potato having a food fight over there. 5 gifted memberships each. Who are you backing? I'm probably backing Potato to absolutely wallop the garlic bread. Sorry, mate. Too soft. Too soft. I want some garlic bread now. Is it ever too early for garlic bread? Probably. Right. This is a cool little thing as well. Of course, with so many first-team players not available, only 10 senior players, there were a lot of academy players who got involved in training yesterday, and 2 of them there. That's Jim Thwaites and that's Godwill Kokonki. And there's a lot of people that have been speaking about Kokonki already. 16. He's come into the... Look, we're working on a little mini documentary about this. And it's probably one of the most impressive things that with the under-18s right now. Last season, they won the treble and it was great. But they lost their centre-backs because they went out of the age group and they moved up. And then you've got Dan Armour, who's come into the under-18s. You've got Kokonki, who's come in. He can play left centre-back. He can play left-back as well. That dude's like a specimen. 6'4", 6'5", I think. An athlete. A proper natural athlete. He was involved, and that's the first time I believe he's been involved in training. Jim Thwaites, he's gained a little bit of a reputation as a set-piece specialist, having scored a couple of bangers. A very, very technical, diminutive central midfielder. And it's always cool to see the youth team being used. And Amorim, and you'll find this out, there's a video, we've been working on another mini documentary. We're really being able to produce them now at a far quicker rate than we were before. And that's all down to your support. So big up to all of you for helping. But going to run through Amorim's track record at Sporting and all the players he brought through and the sort of examples that we could learn. I think, where would you say, I'm going to ask this now, right? Where do you think the pathways are? Where do you think the best pathways are for academy players to break into this squad right now? Because it's really important. The quality of a player is important, but so is the pathway. If there isn't space for that player to come through, then they can't establish themselves in a team. Where do you think the spaces exist? Now, Kokonki, as that left-sided defender who can play left centre-back and left-back, and potentially wing-back, maybe not, there's space inside that squad for that player. I think so anyway. Defensively, wing-back, of course. There is definite space at wing-back. Bendito Mantato playing as the right wing-back, I think that's going to be an option. Was he involved yesterday? Or was he away? I think he might be away in international duty. Not quite sure. Quite a few of you are saying centre-backs. Yeah, I personally think it's kind of the whole defence. Centre-backs, wing-backs. Striker, of course. Well, you've got Gabriel Bianchetti, who's been banging them in all season. And you've got Obi Martin, who has started pretty dominantly, I would call it, for the under-18s and under-21s. Does he play for the under-19s as well? I think so as well. A couple of super chats. Let me read these out, and then I'll head down to the comments, see what else you're saying. Connie's saying, Garnacho is a shot-creating monster for his age. The fact he gets so many chances is his biggest strength. Get him closer to goal and improve decisions. Decision-making is definitely a big aspect for him. And I think, again, truth be told, when it comes to Ten Hag's system and kind of how much there wasn't a pattern or a shape going forward, you couldn't really rely on the overlap. You couldn't really rely on the underlap. You couldn't really rely on anybody being in any position at any one time. And it was supposed to be the unpredictability that added to it, but it actually made it more confusing. And probably ended up with Garnacho thinking, well, I may as well just shoot far more often. Because it was when Amorim works on these patterns, should help everybody develop. Because everybody knows where everybody's going to be without them even being there. And if you can do that a couple of steps ahead, that's when you can really start working as a team. If you have the guts, say Rashford and Shaw out. You say what you want down there, all right? I'm not saying anything. I'm saying that Rashford, I think this is his last season to really refine himself. I think if he doesn't, then Manchester United, I said this in the summer as well, but he was kept. I said because I felt that PSG could come after Rashford when Mbappe left. Rashford's going to have to, every single one of these players are going to have to prove themselves. No one's going to get a hall pass under Ruben Amorim. That's pretty much a guarantee. Kevin, you're saying that Amas needs to be seen. Where was Amas here? I don't think he was. Is he injured? I don't think he's injured. Let's find out. Collier, Amas, and Martin have got big opportunities. Someone says down there. Cantona, are you saying Obi Martin is very unpolished? He still needs time. Well, his finishing isn't unpolished. I don't think so. Certainly not, anyway. Where would Ahmad play? Ahmad's going to play as one of the attacking midfielders. But yeah, it was a pretty cool training video to watch, if I'm being totally honest. The main takeaway from that video, which, oh yeah, surprise, surprise. Amorim immediately worked on the 3-4-3 system. It was Euro as right-sided centre-back, Evans as central centre-back, Shaw as left-sided centre-back, with Malacia and Anthony as the two wing-backs, Casemiro and Mainu as the two central midfielders, and a front three of Mount and Ahmad with Rashford up top. Don't look into the personnel too much, as to, this is who we're going to see against Ipswich, but the shape is there straight away. The team is working on the shape straight away, in and out of possession. So none of this bullshit of, will Amorim change his system? It was never going to happen. He was always going to use three at the back. And he's got into it straight away. Let me see what he's saying in the comments now. We need to see it as a squad game. There shouldn't be a fixed starting 11. I mean, to a certain degree. One thing I've always not liked is chopping and changing your centre-backs. I've always felt that's one of the hardest things for a team to do and stay consistent. As long as they're fit, your centre-back should pretty much start every single game. Now, that's probably different. I mean, it is going to be different when you're playing in a back three system. Because your centre-backs aren't operating like traditional, typical centre-backs that kind of stay towards the edge of their own box, stay central, don't really move out of position too much. There's going to be a lot more involvement in the game from the right-sided and the left-sided centre-back. The central centre-back, who I think will be De Ligt, he's going to be the leader that kind of stays central, doesn't really move too much, leads by example. Or Evans can play there as well. But yeah, we need more in the centre-back department, I think, squad-wise. Someone said, let me read some more of your comments. I think we will be flexible in the selection. Yeah, we have a lot of options in the two attacking midfield positions. I've no idea what the options even are at wing-back, I'll be totally honest. He could go left field. I think if there's going to be a surprise with Ruben Amorim, well, it's not a surprise because I'm saying it, I think it will be at wing-back. I think that's where we might see a player adopt a new position and change. You remember, I don't know, it's a little random segue here, but I'm pretty sure that Antonio Valencia is the only player in United's history to win the Samat Busby Player of the Year trophy in two different positions. He won it originally as right winger, and then I think after the injury and when he came back into the squad, he ended up playing right back. And I think he won it as right back and right winger. I may have just made that up completely, but I don't think I did. But Valencia is kind of the opposite. Now you're seeing a lot of, actually no, not the opposite. You're seeing converted wingers that get made into right wing backs, a bit like Frimpong, maybe like Anthony, maybe like Ahmad, maybe like, I don't know, who else could do it? Bendito, Mantato, loads of them. I'm looking forward to it, right? I'm looking forward to it. Niki saying, what do you think about doing a deep dive of Amorim's first 3 months at Sporting and seeing what difference was seen? I mean, you could technically do that, but I feel like the deep dive that we did on Ruben Amorim was, I think we covered it in that. And maybe after a few months we can look back and compare. We'll find out. Let's have a look down there. And you're saying central midfield is going to be an issue for Xerxes. Look, Xerxes is a squad player in the same way that Mount is a squad player. He's going to have to work his way into that team. He's going to have to force his way into that starting 11. There will only be a few players who I would say, well, they're definitely going to be starting. And I suppose we won't really know until after the Ipswich game on Sunday. But there will be a back three system, right? When is the next training session, says Melker? Well, it's going to be happening today, of course. But yeah, I'll run through, in my lunchtime video, I'll run through in a bit more detail with some clips of the patterns that we saw in the build-up and the patterns out of possession, a couple of the drills, and what we can take moving forward. Richie saying, when am I doing my starting 11? I'm probably going to do the starting 11 on Thursday, I think. Game's on Sunday, of course. So Thursday or Friday, but I reckon Thursday. We'll find out. Now, let's quickly take a segue to kind of speak about this as the last part of today's show. If you can, please take a second now. Drop a like on the video. Makes a big difference. I should always see how many likes the video's on, but I can't. I can't get a counter up on here. It's really annoying. Anyway, this is coming from the Telegraph saying Ruben Amorim is going to be working with a modest budget as United end the transfer churn. And Nathan Salt from the Manchester Evening News also reported it as well. And look, this is what it suggests. Saying Ruben Amorim is set to operate in a more modest budget to Erik ten Hag and will be tasked with maximising the untapped potential in the squad as the club aim to end the damaging and costly cycle of mass overhauls. And this is what a certain David Ornstein had to say about it.
I don't think so. It's never been a massive window for Manchester United or many Premier League clubs to spend.
Talking about whether United are going to be going big in January transfer window, right?
And they normally focus on the summer. Manchester United have signed over the last few years, on average, about 5 players per summer. And I suspect they'll invest again when it comes to that window. But right now, Manchester United are cutting it fine on financial fair play, profitability and sustainability.
Which will come as no surprise to anyone. Can I just rewind again to the, you know how annoyed I got about it? Who was it? I think it was Swedish Rumble. United should be spending a minimum of 300, 400 million. Here's all the numbers. And it was just demonstrably false information. United did not have that much money. That's why cuts have been going left, right and centre. But winter is not a window where United will be busy. I don't think any reasonable United fan would actually be expecting that. And maybe some of you are. It's going to be another window where we're probably looking at peeping a loan signing here or there. That's just the truth. The summer window will be different. That will be where we sell players, we bring players in, and we'll probably go for the same thing. Maybe 3 first-team quality signings and a couple of other ones, maybe 5 signings overall, and a lot of players leaving. But what was said there about this, right, with Ruben Amorim, I'm convinced that this squad that we currently have is significantly better than what we have seen this season. Significantly better. And when previous managers have started at Manchester United, Ten Hag, Mourinho, Solskjaer, I've looked at the squad and I'm like, you've got to go, 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 question mark, question mark, question mark. I'm like, bloody hell, massive overhaul needed. I look at this squad and I don't think a massive overhaul is needed in the same way that it was previously. Improvements are needed, for sure. I think we need more in central midfield. Casemiro and Eriksen, I think, need to be shake their hands and we upgrade in that position. But I don't look at this squad and think it's as bad as it was for the previous managers that have come in. So I think it's absolutely correct that a task of Ruben Amorim should be getting way more out of this squad than we currently see. And I think that's a very fair way to look at it. January will not be a window where let's let Ruben Amorim make his team. It'll be a case of maximize what you've got. Let's see if we need to bring in a loan signing, maybe. Or I don't know if there's any pre-contract agreements with any, like, if, I don't know, hypothetically they did want Angel Gomez. You could agree a deal in January because he can speak to foreign clubs. This squad should be way, way better than it is. And that's going to be the biggest task of Ruben Amorim between now and the end of the season. It'll be about implementing his system, bringing the identity, but also making this squad play so much better than we saw in the first few months of this season. That's just the truth. But yeah, Ruben Amorim's first training session yesterday. I'm going to cover it in today's lunchtime video. Last minute or two of the show, fire in your questions or anything you want me to speak about that I haven't spoken about. Where did Erik ten Hag go? I don't know, he's just back in Holland, I think. He's just back in Amsterdam. Well, actually, he's not from Amsterdam, is he? Can't remember exactly where he's from. Alphonso is Madrid bound. Alphonso Davies. Jeez. Could you imagine me getting him as a wing-back? That's like some Football Manager unlimited budget sort of signing, isn't it? He's a free transfer, isn't he? I think. Morton saying Quenda deal done in January, loan him back to Sporting. I suppose you could conceivably see that because Amorim's already said on record that we're not going to be signing any players from Sporting in January. It depends whether he would feel that would also undo some of the good work and that he built with his relationships by agreeing a deal in January, even if he wasn't leaving until the summer. Don't know. Mainly you're saying the crop of players still isn't good enough if we were ambitious about top trophies. I'm not saying that we don't need any signings. I'm not saying that this squad doesn't need improving quite a lot, but I just don't think it needs the level of overhaul that other squads have had previously. John, you're saying, what about Alvaro Fernandez? Well, let's find out. Alvaro Fernandez is an option. 16 million, I think, the buyback clause we have until 2026. Let's find out. Do I think the Frimpong rumours will restart? You can guarantee that they will restart. And this time they make sense. At no point did any Frimpong rumour make sense before. Now it fits. Now it really fits. But it also then depends. Do you want to spend 40, 50 million, which is what it would cost, I think. I think it's got a 40 mil release clause, on Frimpong, or do you want to, don't know, take a gamble with Bendito Mantato or one of the youth team players? Because there will be gems there somewhere. There will be gems coming from our academy into the Amorim system that fit like a glove. My honest target for the remainder of the season, let me watch a couple of games with Amorim first, because I think it's impossible to make that prediction until we actually know what we're working with, right? I think so. If there was one player we needed in January, who would it be? I mean, right now, I'd probably say an experienced striker. Somebody who can bring some damn goals. But I also know that in the Amorim system, we will be making far more for our centre forwards. Højlund will actually get the ball to feet. He'll actually be past the ball. Madness. Ross, you're saying that you would raid Lyon. Are they going down to, like, League 2 now? It's bad, isn't it? Feel sorry for Lyon and Lyon fans. Get absolutely rinsed. But look, I'm going to wrap that up for today and get working on the lunchtime video. It's all going to be about Ruben Amorim's first training session. Now, we'll bring some clips into it so we can see some examples, all right? Big up to all of you for tuning in. And I'll say one more time, if you can please go over to Spotify or Apple Podcasts, type United People's Podcast, or actually the new name of the podcast, United Daily. We're going to be launching on Monday, the day after Ruben Amorim's game, launching at 9 a.m. every day, and it will be a 10 to 15-minute podcast, a really nice condensed version of this live news show, all right? For anybody who's out and about and doesn't have time to tune in. That's what it is there for. Thank you all for tuning in. Had a cracking day. I really enjoyed that show. And thanks for all the chat. All right? Take it easy.